Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Also welcome if you are new here. In today's video, I am not doing your typical pick a card reading. I am doing a tarot card reading based off of the events with the Black Hawk helicopter colliding with Flight 5342. A little bit of a background about the situation. On January the 29th, 2025, at 8:47 p.m. Eastern Time, a tragic mid-air collision occurred over the Potomac River near Washington, D.C., involving American Airlines Flight 5342 and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. All 67 individuals aboard both aircraft perished in the accident. American Airlines Flight 5342 was operated by PSA Airlines as American Eagle, was en route from Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport in Kansas to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. The flight carried 60 passengers and 4 crew members. The U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter with a crew of 3 Army service members was conducting a nighttime training mission originating from Davison Army Airfield in Virginia. At 8:43 p.m., Flight 5342 intentionally cleared for a visual approach to runway 1 was redirected to runway 33 by air traffic control, which the crew did accept. 8:46 p.m., air traffic control informed the Black Hawk crew about the approaching CRJ 700 at an altitude of 1,200 feet, circling to land on runway 33. The helicopter crew acknowledged having the jet in sight and requested visual separation, which was approved. At approximately 8:47 p.m., 20 seconds before the collision, the controllers sought confirmation from the helicopter crew about visual contact with the jet. 17 seconds prior, the controller instructed the helicopter to pass behind Flight 5342. However, this critical directive may not have been received due to radio miscommunication. The helicopter crew maintained their course, and the collision occurred at an altitude of approximately 278 feet, resulting in both aircraft crashing into the Potomac River. Before we begin the reading, I want to let you guys know that I am not going to answer actual questions. I'm just using my intuition because this event was just so random that you can't have all the answers, if that makes sense. I am going to begin my reading by shuffling the cards, not actually doing the reading yet, so if I mess up multiple times, I apologize. All these cards just want to come out and fly at me, but it's okay. That's how we know Spirit is here with us. Here we go again. Moving on, I am going to ask questions relating to the plane crash and the Black Hawk helicopter crash. Basically, my main questions is the spiritual significance of the crash, what unseen forces contributed to the Black Hawk helicopter crash, and if there's any divine intervention that occurred during these tragedies, and how these tragedies affect the people closest to them on a karmic level. Now we may begin shuffling since we have an idea of the questions. Wow. Basically, the energy surrounding the connection between the Black Hawk and Flight 5342, as indicated by the World card, suggests a deep, far-reaching significance that goes beyond just an isolated event. Planes symbolize movement, transcendence, and the crossing of thresholds between worlds. Flight 5342 may represent not just a physical journey, but a spiritual passage beyond what is seen in the material world. The numbers in Flight 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 2 reduce to 14, then to 5, which in numerology signifies change, instability, and freedom. This suggests something unfinished or something that has altered the course of history in some way. Black Hawk spirit is one of protection, guidance, and truth. As a historical figure and guardian presence in mediumship, he embodies resilience and justice, watching over those who seek his wisdom. If his energy is tied to Flight 5342, it could indicate that he is serving as a protector or messenger, either guiding spirits to the next realm or ensuring that hidden truths surface. The hawk itself is a visionary, a creature that sees beyond the immediate and understands the broader perspective. The World card tells us that nothing happens by itself. It suggests that the event tied to this accident was not random. It was part of a greater lesson, closure, or revelation meant to be understood in a wider spiritual or historical context. The energy may involve ancestral patterns, karmic cycles, or a destined unfolding of events where past actions and spirits intersect with the present. It could also mean that whatever happened with Flight 5342 has ripple effects beyond what is visible. It could tie to a larger mission of justice, remembrance, or an unfinished story. The presence of the Black Hawk suggests protection and truth, possibly that a message needs to be delivered about Flight 5342, either to the world or to specific people. Or the energy could indicate that the spirits tied to both aircraft have found or are finding closure either through remembrance, recognition, or spiritual guidance. And there may be some synchronicities repeated in symbols or lingering energies around this connection, showing that the story is not just about the past, but it is also about what is meant to be understood at this moment. Spirit is coming through, and they want us to know that everything that they were meant to do in this lifetime, they did. And Spirit is preparing to move on to their next spiritual journey. The Knight of Wands represents the pilots of the Black Hawk with feelings of determination and focus, driven by urgency and the need to act quickly. Their emotions were likely shaped by restlessness, pushing them to make fast, high-stakes decisions without time for hesitation. They felt bravery and a sense of duty, charging forward with confidence, but also a degree of recklessness as they faced intense pressure in the moment. Their actions were instinctive, guided by their training, but the heat of the moment would have led to emotions like fear, frustration, or determination overriding careful thought. As warriors, they were dedicated to their mission, but the aftermath could leave their spirits feeling restless if their journey was incomplete or unresolved, carrying desire for recognition or closure. I feel that the Knight of Wands represents energy, action, and courage rather than physical characteristics. So the pilot could have been either a male or female. This card with its themes of urgency, impulsiveness, and courage highlights a person who is driven to act quickly and without hesitation, often in response to high-pressure situations. As for regret or sorrow, the Knight of Wands, in my opinion, tells me a sense of recklessness or impulsivity rather than regret, as the individual likely acted with the intention of fulfilling their duty. However, in the aftermath, there may be a lingering feeling of unfinished business or possibly unanswered questions, which could manifest as remorse if the pilot feels their actions led to unintended consequences. There may be sorrow for any lives lost or for not being able to control the outcome, especially if the pilot was driven by a sense of responsibility and honor. This regret wouldn't be passive, but would instead come as a restless energy, like an unsettled spirit, with the pilot still feeling the weight of the event even after death. The Knight of Wands implies that the energy still remains active, with the pilot perhaps still seeking closure and being earthbound. Earthbound spirits are in between heaven and earth, going through a life review. And once they accept their life reviews, they will be able to take their energies and transcend to something higher. Basically, the Page of Cups in the moment of the disaster, like a plane crash, carries a profound energy, while the Knight of Wands charges in with impulsivity and action. The Page of Cups represents a deeper emotional current, a quiet, subtle awareness that exists beneath the surface in moments of chaos and destruction. When disaster strikes, such as a plane crash, the Page of Cups reflects the emotional state of those involved in the incident, whether the pilot's crew or passengers. In that moment, the Page of Cups channels the feelings of vulnerability, disillusionment, and perhaps an awakening to the fragility of life. For the pilot and others on board, there may have been a sudden overwhelming awareness of loss, or even the possibility of death, a gut reaction that is almost telepathic or intuitive, coming from a place deeper than the mind can comprehend. There may have been moments of hope or plea for understanding if there were people on the flight with spiritual or emotional faith. In some plane crashes, survivors or witnesses report experiencing a strange calmness or a sense of otherworldly peace just before the disaster. And this can be linked with the Page of Cups, a sudden surge of emotional clarity or connections to something beyond the physical world. In plane crashes where no survivors are left, the energy of the Page of Cups can still be sensed in the stories told by witnesses, investigators, or those who have researched the event. Often survivors of similar incidents describe a sense of intuition, a knowing, a strange feeling of sudden calm, or connection to something larger, just before the chaos. After a crash, accounts often include the emotional recovery and trauma faced by the families and loved ones of those lost. The Page of Cups also represents messages of healing, sorrow, and a quiet acknowledgement of grief and suffering that follow. In many cases, loved ones of the deceased may sense that their family members are communicating or sending emotional messages from beyond the grave in dreams, visions, or feelings of reassurance that they are not truly gone and they live through them spiritually. The Justice card is all about truth and examination of actions. After a crash, whether involving a Black Hawk or any flight, there will always be a demand for answers. Who or what is responsible for the tragedy? The energy of justice suggests that in the wake of the crash, there will be a formal process of investigation that will go on for about a couple of years. There may be an official inquiry to determine whether the crash was the result of a mechanical failure, human error, miscommunication, or some other contributing factor. It calls for the revelation of truth, no matter how uncomfortable or painful it may be for people. Also, there is a need for equilibrium or balance. This could mean that the families of the victims, the crew members, and even the general public will want to see that justice is served, whether that means taking accountability for those involved, reparations for victims' families, or even a systemic change to prevent future accidents. Justice is not only about punishment, but about ensuring that everything is balanced and that those responsible face the necessary consequences. Justice is also not swayed by emotions or biases. It requires a clear-headed, objective assessment of the facts. It can also suggest that after the immediate shock and grief of the disaster, there will be time for dispassionate reflection on what happened. Investigators, officials, and loved ones may begin to look at the facts, the timeline, and the circumstances surrounding the event without the clouding influence of anger, sorrow, or fear. This process can be painstaking, but necessary for uncovering the truth and achieving justice. The Justice card is also associated with karma, the principle of cause and effect. It implies that while the event itself may have felt random or unavoidable, there is a larger cycle at play that will eventually bring out the consequences of actions taken or not taken. The karmic element of justice can suggest that the crash may have been the result of choices made previously, possibly hidden motives or overlooked mistakes, and even structural failures that set the event in motion. Ultimately, the consequences of those actions will need to be addressed to restore the balance. The crash as a traumatic event disturbs the natural order of things. The Justice card urges that once the truth is known and the guilty are held accountable, there is a need to restore balance to the community affected by the crash. This could mean bringing closure to the families, rebuilding the trust of the public, or even addressing legal, financial, or structural adjustments to prevent this from happening again. As we close this reading, the energies of the World, Knight of Wands, Page of Cups, and Justice suggest that the event is part of a larger cycle of transformation and spiritual growth, leading to deep reckoning with the truth and eventual healing. The Page of Cups reveals emotional reflection and an intuitive connection to the lost, while the Justice ensures that the truth will emerge. The numbers 11 and 21 signify this event as a turning point, with the lessons learned contributing to new beginnings and eventual growth. Some of my predictions include emotional healing, uncovering hidden truths in investigations, systemic changes in procedures to prevent future tragedies, and spiritual closure for the loved ones. The unfolding of these energies will bring answers and peace over time, offering reassurance and guidance, all affected towards balance and understanding. Life and death are interconnected, and this tragic event, while difficult, will lead to a greater purpose, helping bring both clarity and justice to those involved. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please show support by liking this video, commenting your thoughts of this event, and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification so you can be notified when I post. May peace and light guide the way forward. Bye everyone.